Welcome to Moms with a Call. We're not here to preach, convert, or fix you. We're here to listen.
We're McKenzie
and Rebecca, two women with messy stories, honest questions, and a quiet hope that maybe Jesus looks a lot more like love than we were ever shown. If you've ever wondered if there's a place for you in all of this, there is. Come, have a seat at the table. You're safe here. You're welcome here. Let's begin.
Okay, I could geek out, but Mercury retrograde's over. And there's also a really cool transit going on in the sky. It's like the two luckiest, most beautiful planets are together in the sky. And it doesn't happen often in the sign of Cancer, where they're the happiest. So
which is my sun sign.
Yeah, so whoever Cancer's in your chart.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Okay.
Family's family for you.
Oh, great. All right, let's go.
Welcome back to Moms with a Call. Today we have a very special guest on, and I'm going to give it over to McKenzie to introduce her.
Yes, we're so excited. It's Amanda Clark here from Austin, Texas. She is, I guess she's actually from Buffalo, New York, but she currently lives in Austin, Texas. And she is actually one of my longest clients that I've had with Covalent. And so when we started this, I was so excited. She's one of the first people that came to mind, but she's the founder of Atria Social, which is a social media agency for healthcare well, really just wellness and healers, I think is the word you use quite a bit. But here, I'm going to read a little bit about you. So you are the founder of Atria, a marketing agency that helps doctors and health professionals build magnetic, meaningful online brands. You've always felt connected to the mystical, which is exactly why we're having you on. And we're so excited. Seeing auras, predicting events, communicating telepathically as a child, which I cannot wait to get into. So your path into astrology, human design, and mysticism comes from a deep knowing that we're part of something far greater than we're meant to understand in this life. So as a Sagittarius rising, you view life as a space to learn, explore, and realign with connection through self and with God. And so I think this is so interesting. The reason we're having you on is because you identify, and you have a religious and Catholic background, but you also have this entire astrological, mystical element to you. So I'm just so excited to have you on.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of did I miss anything in your intro?
No, I feel like that was good. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm pumped. This is my favorite thing to talk about. So you might have to reel me in a little bit. Yeah.
No, it's totally fine. I do want to do a little disclaimer too, just because I know this is a really touchy subject, especially for Christians, that we'll get into it. We'll dive even further, but a lot of people are really scared of astrology due to its, tie with occult practices. And the Bible really, I guess in some parts of, especially the Old Testament, right, it condones occult practices. So we'll get more into it, but do you have anything you want to say for Christians listening in and might feel a little bit nervous to dip their toe into this?
Yeah, I can definitely resonate with that. I'll talk about my background a little bit, but I remember, growing up, my first experience seeing an aura in my life was over a priest at my church. I was like, Mom, what is that light? And she can see them too, but she's so tapped in. She doesn't question it as much as I do. I need to know the why, I guess. She has so much faith, and she's a devout Catholic, and that's the woman that raised me. And she's my best friend. But yeah, she could see the auras too. And so I think the fact that that was my first experience, just to me, the way I feel about it is it proves that it is a godly gift or clue, I guess you could say. And I would also say I was around a lot of people growing up that would say, don't listen to rap music, don't watch movies that, have sex or violence or anything like that. And now growing up, I totally get it, because when you surround yourself around negativity, hostility, all of that kind of frequency, you're going to soak some of it in. So, and I think it's just human nature to kind of feel that, whether it's through your faith or just through like trial and error and practice over time. It's like, no matter, I guess, guidance you're given, in life, as long as it comes with truth, we're kind of all saying the same thing in a different font. I say that all the time. I'm like, a lot
I
of
love
us are
that.
saying the same thing, but we're just saying it differently because we're not meant to understand what's going on. And so I think practices like astrology, any kind of mysticism, they've been around since the beginning. There's Christian mysticism, there's Jewish mysticism, and there's people practicing Christianity and mysticism now. And I can give you an example of that in a little bit. But I would say, from my point of view, and I'm not the authority on this, but from my point of view, I think it's all connected. I think it's all the same thing. Something to be scared of. If you are scared of it, ask yourself why.
Yeah.
Like, where is it coming from?
Yeah.
Where do you feel it in your body? You know?
I think it's interesting you say that because there is scripture that supports that astrology is real. There's actually a lot of scripture. I don't think God ever, agreed with that. So I think to ignore it is a little bit, I don't want to use the word naive, but, it's there and it's real. I think for me as someone, I just don't know much about it, if that makes sense. It's not that I'm fearful of it. I understand people are, but it's one of those things that you really don't have any knowledge on, so you don't know where to go from there.
Totally. And I think a lot of people will get tripped up a little bit thinking it's like, oh, do you believe in astrology? It's not a faith, it's a tool.
Ooh, I love
And
that.
so it's like, yeah, it's there's actually a book, I'm blanking on her name right now, but there's a book called I Don't Believe in Astrology, and an astrologer wrote it. That's kind of what she's saying. She's like, it's not a belief over here. This isn't a faith. It's kind of a philosophy. And I'm going to keep saying the word clue because it recently came to me that word is sort of how I see it.
Yeah.
There's clues all over the place from God when you lose something. And I mean, I was raised Catholic, so like to this day, like
Saint
if I
Anthony.
lose something, I hit up Saint Anthony, and then I find it. But it's like, there's clues all the time, or you're like, don't take that side road, go this way. Like there's something going on. And I think one of the clues that's kind of cool, that's something man can't touch and ruin, is the sky. We can't touch it. It's God's painting.
Yeah.
Like we can't touch it. And we've tried for centuries to decode it. What does it mean? What are the influences? What are the energies that come down? I mean, women, our cycles are guided by the moon. Farmers, they use astrology to figure out where they are in seasons. There's 4 seasons in astrology. There's 4 seasons that we experience on Earth. So, and like you said, you have to jump into the deep end of it to kind of realize how cool it is. Because otherwise you're like, I'm a Taurus,
Right.
and that's all you really know. And that's for a reason. And I could go down that if you want to know like why, or like how that kind of came to be and how it became such a simplistic practice. But yeah, that's what I would say about that.
I feel like because I want to get to that because I feel like I don't identify with my Cancer sign at all. I mean, maybe at my root, I'm very emotional, but we'll go into that later. I
Girl.
kind of want to actually dive. What?
Your root, it's literally in the bottom of your chart. That's the root of your chart. You just
I don't know.
placed it so perfectly. It's like, we can talk about that later.
I know. So actually, Amanda just did a reading for me for my personal brand, just like McKenzie Jevnikar. I have my covalent brand. We have Moms with a Call brand, but I'm trying to really figure out where I place in the public and just in my own personal brand. And so she did a reading based on my chart, and it was just so interesting. We'll go into that a little bit later, but I wanted to. That's why she's so well versed with my chart. She already did it. So, I kind of want to start at the beginning. Can you tell me a little bit about your life growing up and especially your faith background? You mentioned you were Catholic. I would love to hear a little more about that and your spiritual influences.
Yes. Okay. So I'm the oldest of 21st cousins in an Irish Catholic family.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm obsessed with my family. They're my favorite. I'm very, very blessed with an incredible family. And so being the oldest, when it came time for me to get confirmed, I was having some hesitation. And my mom at the time she was, like I said, she's very tapped in. She's very faith driven. She's a true believer. But she also will, you know, experience these kinds of things. Like I said, like communicating telepathically, like prediction stuff, auras, that kind of energy. So that's like always with the two of us. It's very interesting. But yeah, so I was 17. We didn't get confirmed until later at my church.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah,
But normally it's 8th grade, right?
yeah, it was later for me. And I'm so glad it was. At the time, I was like, why didn't I just do this earlier? But upon reflection, I'm really glad that it worked out that way because I had a chance to go to some other churches with my friends. So I had a really good friend who belonged to a non-denominational Christian church. I'm pretty sure it was. But we went in there, you know, every week. Actually, two friends that I can think of belonged to churches that were the polar opposite of the Catholic Church. You know, there was singing, there was dancing, there was playing. There weren't, I mean, you know, there were like rules, like,
Yeah.
but not like the Catholic faith. And as a Sagittarius rising, I do not like to be told what to do. And so I just think the Catholic faith, yeah, but I think the Catholic faith is beautiful and it's perfect for people that resonate with it. But for me, it was a hard no. And so that's why I chose not to get confirmed. And I did it really and purely out of respect for God. I said to my mom, I was like, Mom, I can't promise God that I'm going to raise my kids Catholic and I'm going to be Catholic for the rest of my life. I respect God too much. While like my peers, you know, were and no judgment, whatever. But my peers were like, yeah, I'm going to go through my confirmation, have a party and make a few $100, whatever. And like that was kind of like why a lot of them did it. They didn't take it seriously. I took it super seriously. And I was like, I can't do that. I don't know. I think I'm just Christian. And so, I mean, my mom was like heartbroken. I couldn't
Yeah.
grandparents like without feeling so guilty. And it was kind of true. I was Catholic. Like I guess the way, like we didn't really talk about it. We just kind of were like, okay, Amanda didn't get confirmed. We're moving on now.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's interesting because I was like, oh my God, I wonder if I set the tone for my cousins. But, you know, everybody else moved forward with the Catholic faith. I think I'm the only one that didn't. And so that was like, you know, before college and all of that. And prior to that, I was always plugged in. I was seeing the auras around my teachers, my priest. And when I say aura, I'm not talking about like a big colorful aura. That's not the type I see. Like I can see them on you guys right now.
I was actually going to ask what that
really?
looked like when you mentioned it about the priest.
Yeah.
Just, you said there was a light.
Yeah, what does it look like?
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay. How can I describe? Okay. I want to give an analogy that's something that Christians would understand. So, you know, when you see kind of like a drawing of Mary and there's like an outline around her, that's the first thing that comes to mind. That's what I see. It's a white, it's not white. It's
like
bright,
a yellow
but it's not.
color. That's what I'm picturing.
Yeah.
Like a darker yellow.
Yeah. It's like an off.
Yeah,
it's
me
an
too.
It's an off white. And when someone's speaking, when someone's nervous, it's bigger.
Interesting.
I think it's an energy. I think it's a frequency thing. I think it's the energy. And I've always been able to
So
see
I'm
that.
curious, seem bigger because I feel a little anxious going into this conversation because I have no knowledge on it. Not anxious as in like
Yeah,
I'm
looking.
against it because I'm not. I just feel anxious. I guess learning something new. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And you don't want to say the wrong thing. And you don't want to be like,
exactly.
I get it. I felt the same way coming into this discussion. So I was like, I really hope I don't offend anybody.
No.
Like I said, I'm not the authority on this topic. I'm just like, this is my story. And
Right.
so here we go. But yeah, I mean, no, yours is like good. You're chill.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is so funny. You can see it virtually too.
I know.
That's so
I
interesting.
know. And it's so funny because I've always questioned that about people. Like, oh, how could you like have how could you do psychic readings remotely? And then Zoom started happening, you know, with the pandemic and all that. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm seeing auras. I'm like, okay, I think.
So are there some people you don't see auras around then? Or you always
No.
see their aura? No.
Yeah, like I see them. But I
That's
also wonder if,
wild.
Can you describe the difference of the auras, you know, based off of each person. I'm trying to get a picture in my mind so that I can follow.
Yeah. Okay, so some people can see colors
Okay.
around people. So like, um, if it's green, it could be like something related to your heart. Purple is something that's very, it's like your crown chakra. It's something that's kind of mystical and connected to God. God, I'm going to use God, universe, like source, like kind of interchangeably. And that's the way I talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like connection up there. So I wish I could see color. I think you can practice like with anything, right? You practice more and more and you get better at it. I think that's kind of how it works. I just haven't gone down that path. But for me it's just like an off-white kind of bright energy around people. I don't know. It's always been there.
Okay.
That's so
Interesting.
cool.
Yeah.
So then in your early childhood, you took God very seriously. So then were you ever drawn to mystical, like the universe, the cosmos, any kind of mystical being or any of that when you were still in, I guess, identifying as a Catholic?
Yeah. Yeah. So in 5th grade, a friend of mine and we went into our little kid library, and don't ask me why these books were available, but we rented out like 5 or 6 books on magic. So some of it was black magic. We
In
didn't
the
know.
Catholic
We just thought
Church?
we were like no, I went to regular school.
Oh,
Just like
I was like,
yeah,
what? They had
no,
black
no, no,
magic?
no,
Okay,
no,
okay.
no, no, no. No, yeah. I don't know why they had those books, but they did. So we took them out and we were like reading them. And we shouldn't have been watching this stuff. We were watching like The Craft. Or have you ever seen that? It's a
No.
movie. It's a movie about like witches. And I was just always really interested in like Matilda, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I got rid of Harry Potter. Like all of those kind of like Hocus,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
witchy stuff. I always thought it was really
Yeah.
fun, and I didn't know at the time that there was a dark side. You know what I mean? Like I'm a kid, and so we got these books from the library, and we're carrying them around with us. And like, long story short, one of my teachers or the principal or whoever called my mom and was like, "Hey, you gotta know, like we are gonna just so you know, your child's like."
He's trying to become a witch.
Witchcraft. And it was all innocent. Like I wasn't doing anything demonic, but it freaked me out. And so, Mackenzie, I know in your testimony you were talking about like being a little kid and like scared of things. So I think when I was little, I was really, really scared of the devil. I was
Yeah.
really terrified of when I was sleeping, having something come like into my room and scare me or get me in my dreams, like that kind of stuff. So I resonated a lot with that part of your story.
Yeah.
But
It's
yeah,
terrifying.
and I would go and sleep in my parents' room like most nights,
Me too.
or stay up all night drawing. Like I would just draw and write little stories because I was scared. I was scared of something else. So I think part of me from the beginning, like just knew that it wasn't just us living our little human lives and then we die and that's over. It was a bigger story.
That's so interesting. So you went to public school and they were concerned about the magic books, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
So when did you realize that there's there's good magic maybe and then bad black magic? When did you figure out the difference? And what is the difference?
I think honestly, I don't think there was like a key moment, but I think it was probably through my mom. Just kind of being like, hey, this is more aligned with the dark side.
Yeah.
And I don't remember like a pivotal moment where it was like explained to me. I think I kind of probably knew as a little kid, like this isn't like I'm being naughty.
Yeah, this feels
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely had a fear as a little kid. And again, I mean, the Catholic religion, as I translated it, instilled a bit of fear, in like doing the right thing. Otherwise, there's punishment. And so I think I carried a bit of that,
Yeah. So
But
as
Yeah.
a kid, you understood that there was a spiritual realm that was happening around us that we maybe can't see or most of us can't see. I find that so interesting because I grew up in the Southern Baptist church, and I feel like that side of Christianity, it's like you don't talk about that. So I feel like I didn't even have knowledge on the fact. Of course, they tell you about the devil and the defeated devil, essentially. But I didn't have knowledge that that was actually happening all around us. All of us, believers, non-believers, it doesn't matter. There's a spiritual realm that's going on. There's a war, a battle that's happening all the time that we can't see until I was, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago. So, and I wonder, having children, I'm like, do we teach them that at a young age? Because I feel like that's really scary.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I would. God, I mean, I'm not a mom yet,
But being a child
but
that went through that,
yeah, I'm thinking. I mean, I probably wouldn't expose them too
right,
young to the concept.
right.
I think I was watching scary movies like probably a little too young, but I was also asking a ton of questions and like, what are my parents supposed to do?
Yeah, right,
They're
right. They're
gonna,
Yeah.
not going to lie to
ask
you.
me. And so,
Yeah, yeah.
I think I was introduced to it extremely young. Like I knew because I was seeing things as a child and I was having really dark spiritual experiences as a kid. My mom really didn't have a choice other than
Explain it.
to talk about it and to pray through it and explain it. And so I think it depends on the child. If the child's not going through anything, I think maybe you let the Holy Spirit and the child lead the conversation of that. And I do think it's important you talk about it and that there is this spiritual realm. We are spiritual beings. And just as the Holy Spirit is within us, we have our own spirit, which means there's other spirits around, but we don't have to be scared of them.
yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be
Yeah,
my
I love
answer.
that.
But I think if I told Noah everything super young, she would be
Yeah,
terrified.
I mean, even at
Oh,
3
yeah.
years old, they go through this. I don't know medically how you explain it, but they, go into this developmental leap where their imagination part of their brain really gets turned up. And that's when they start becoming scared of the dark and having bad dreams. And we ended up co-sleeping because at that age, because Phoebe was so scared of the dark and dreams. And now that I'm, talking about it, I'm like, I wonder if she was seeing certain things, but now she just sleeps in the room with us. But I just, as a mom, my wheels are just turning about that.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. What do you think, Amanda?
I was just gonna say, I think it's human nature to try to put a label on things and understand things and package it up in a really neat bow,
Right.
right? And I think religion does a really great job of that, taking categories of life and attributing them to, okay, well, what did Jesus say? What did the apostles say? What did it say in the Old Testament? Da, da, da. And that's a very practical way of making something spiritual make sense as a human being. You know what I mean? Like if we're gonna explain seeing a ghost, like how are we gonna explain it? We have to make sense of it. Where can we
Right.
point to? So we go to the oldest texts there are. Okay, what did they say? And it makes sense from a practical standpoint. And then, as a believer of whatever it is you believe in, you might have an inkling. Like there might be like, okay, this could very well be the answer, but like, what if it's not? And
Love
I
that.
think I also think we're designed by God, right? Like we can agree.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, right. So it's like there's no secret if we're designed by God that He knows we're gonna question things.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna wonder if we're doing it right. So it's like He knows we're gonna do that. He's like, regardless, I love you, I made you, you're good.
Yeah.
And it's part of the human experience to try to figure out where we came from, what makes sense, what we're connected to.
Right.
So I think if a kid, going back to the kid topic, if a kid is like asking these questions and it's like, it's not going to be
Scary.
scary because it isn't scary, but the same way, it's like, in the same sentence, it's like, a lot of things are scary, but they're happening, and you
Yeah.
can't just go off
Well,
the
and maybe that's where
that makes
faith can be found even in children where we don't have control over that. And there is a defeated devil. So maybe just being open and honest about it, but providing that safe space that they know that they're going to be that they're looked after, not even by their parents, but by God. And circling back to, you saying us as humans trying to make sense of it, I do totally agree with that. And I got to a point where I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to fully understand. Like, he's a transcendental, I don't know if that's the right word, but transcendental being. I don't think our brains can fully grasp the magnitude of his being.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if we will on this earth. I feel like maybe in heaven, and then maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so too. I had a download one day. I don't remember what I was doing, but something clicked in my brain where I was like, oh, we're not supposed to understand it all. Why am I spending so much time trying to understand everything when I'm just going to figure it out at the end anyway and be like, why did you spend so much time worrying or not worrying, trying to like decipher what the clues are? But it's like,
we're not meant to know it all.
there's something cool about that.
Yeah, it's so, so cool. So then going back to, was it the moment that you decided not to confirm that you actually felt distant from God, or did you feel closer to God then?
Great question. I was so proud of myself.
Wow.
I was like, wow. I'm like, I know I pissed them. I'm sure I did. Or
It's okay.
disappointed people, or, like, and I understand, especially as an adult looking back on that now, like they were probably worried about me. But my rationale for making that decision was so pure, and I still stand by it. If I decide to go back to the Catholic faith, that'll be a choice I make with my whole heart. You know what I mean? It's not me doing it because someone wants me to do it. So yeah, I felt really connected. But then at the time, it was also, time to graduate high school and then go into college and after college. And like that period of time, I was very like easily molded, I think. I took on a lot of the kind of just influence, I mean, as you do, right? But like the influence from friends, big time.
There, yeah.
You're trying to figure yourself out. It's the period of time a lot of people go through that. But I definitely did, where I think I'm a totally different person now. But when it comes to like walking in faith or being spiritual or anything like that, like there was a gap. There was a gap for sure. Like I would go to church for holidays whenever I was home, like from college, or I moved away and then I came back. But yeah, I definitely took a step away, but the spiritual connectedness was always with me. Like I never felt like I was in the dark. You know what I mean? I always felt like, no, I'm good. Like I'm safe. I'm held. I'm not alone.
That's so interesting that you never felt, I guess, disconnect. Did you ever feel silenced from God, or maybe he was a little bit quieter?
No,
or they were quieter?
Weird things happened all the time. Like little things, like I'd be like, oh, we're gonna hit a deer. We'd hit a deer, like driving home from something.
Interesting.
Or I'd look at the clock and be like, I have to call my mom. We do that all the time still. And we did that going back to childhood. We did that. I would call my mom in my head. I'd be like, can you call me? And she'd call me and be like, what?
Oh,
Like on the
interesting.
phone.
Wow.
Yeah. There was a time I remember being like, I'm backtracking, but I want to make sure I close the loop on the telepathy thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, let's go back.
when I was little, I remember we were at like a JCPenney or, one of those stores, and I lost her. Whoops, where'd mom go? And I was freaked out because I didn't know where she was. So I sat down under the bathing suits, I think it was, in one of the like in the clothing department. And I just kept saying over and over in my head, I'm under the bikinis, I'm under the bikinis, I'm under the bikinis. And she came over and she's like, I heard you say that you were under the bikinis. It's like, this is
Wow.
Yeah.
Does she have that with
many
anybody
stories.
else, or just with you?
I think she's super connected to all of us, but it's the only thing I know about is, I think we're just kind of weirdos.
Because this is so funny you say this, because I swear every time, this is going to sound so ridiculous, but when Noah and I are singing Old MacDonald, I know which animal she's going to say next.
Yeah.
Of course you know.
And it's not the same one each time.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. But yeah, that's but my point, kind of getting back to your question, is that I always like these things just always happen. And there's stuff in my chart that does point
Makes
to like
sense.
connection like all the time. And so I never felt, no, even when like some crazy stuff was going down, I never felt disconnected.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your, yeah, it is. Did you have a question, Rebecca? Because I wanted to look at the part that she had filled
Well,
out.
I wanted to, and this might be like weighing us away from, a structured conversation, but it's just a thought that keeps popping up in my head.
Mhm.
Old Testament texts kind of support this idea that the stars were, essentially warriors of God. And so I've always been interested, like, there has to be something there that is connected to God, because I feel like mainstream Christianity, people don't even want to let their minds, and that could just be me stereotyping, but from what I've seen, they don't want
No.
their minds to get there. And I get that that's out of respect from scripture, that's maybe taken out of context, maybe not. But I think I've always been so curious. There's something there, and I feel like in my mind, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's God created the earth, the universe, the heavens, and he's above all of it. So believers and non-believers, a lot of people believe in the universe, essentially. And I'm curious as to where things went kind of sideways. It's do people believe the universe is our source? Because in my mind, I believe the universe exists. It does hold these powers that these people are talking about, but the universe's source is God. Is that
Yeah.
right? Or am I just on a like
No,
chaotic
I think that makes
tangent?
total sense. Yeah, no. I think that makes sense. And I think it's like from what I've gone down all my little rabbit holes trying to trying to figure it out, something I'm never going to be able to figure it out. But I think that's why a lot of people will use God, source, universe kind of interchangeably. It's because it's like the unknown, something that we can't tap into and have an actual like, hey, why'd you do that kind of conversation? Like not tap into, we can tap into God or source, whatever. But it's like so not human, it's like such a big, 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 big entity, like all powerful, all knowing, whatever that is. I think, like I said in the beginning, like I think we're all talking about the same thing in a different
different
accent
way.
or a different font or a different language or whatever. It's like we're all just humans trying to make sense of things. So whether you're like on the other side of the world and you believe one thing, you're in a remote village, you believe one thing, you're in, like, I don't know, Georgia, you believe one thing, wherever you're in New York City, like because of, I think, like globalization, we're able to have these conversations and not just like trust the elders. We're like, wait a minute, where'd you get that from? Let me check your source.
Fact checking.
And I think at the end of the day, like we're all talking about the same thing that we're never going to understand. And it's like somewhere out there. But I think the universe or like the stars influence, scientists study this. And quantum physicists and like astrophysicists do a lot of this kind of work, but there's something about, they're called neutrinos, and it's energy, and I could be getting this wrong, but from my understanding, it's like energy from somewhere in the universe when something happens, like a star collapses or, like a planet shifts or an asteroid or whatever. But there's energetics that influence us on Earth, and Earth itself has a heartbeat. There's something called the Schumann resonance, which is a measurement of how the Earth is kind of operating as like, like a physical entity. We forget, like, I don't know, a lot of times I'm so up there and I think like that way, I forget, I'm like, oh my gosh, wait, I'm on an actual planet and the planet is a living thing. And we have to take care of it, all that stuff. But it's influenced by so much. When there's solar flares going on with the sun, we feel it. When there's a full moon, like the tides are different. Like my point is that there's impact from whatever's out there. Scientists are studying it. We feel it. And to just ignore it, I think is kind of rude. it's kind of rude to God's doing all this stuff and we're just like, oh yeah, but we're not going to think about that because one time somewhere someone told me that that's black magic.
Right.
You know?
Or because because maybe this is the way I look at it is I think that the Lord created all of this. And so for us to want, we're limiting him by saying, oh no, he can't do that. That's not him. And it's like, okay, well, no, maybe it is him. Actually, Satan, and we see this or the enemy or whoever you whatever you call it, he kind of, at least in Christian teaching, he hijacked this. And people who practice black magic and all of this darkness, they've hijacked this good power, this good energy, this good, that everything that the Lord has given us and used it for bad. And so now we're saying we can't touch that at all. This beautiful gift God has given us in energetics. We can't use
but
that
Satan,
at all.
And Satan has touched everything God's created. So to not believe in that is saying to not believe in the structure of this world too. And that might just be like a crazy statement I'm making, but I'm with you. I
just made a crazy one too.
I feel like in my mind,
I lied.
I feel like I've compartmentalized this, and I could be wrong, but in my mind, I'm like, wow. And granted, I feel like I'm in the pre-K stages of astrology, right? Like I don't know half the stuff that you guys know, but the things that I have recognized, I'm like, wow, this is wild. This is real. But it's even more wild to me that our God is so brilliant that he has created this universe and these energies and stars and all the things that affect us as humans. And in my mind, he is the source of life for not just us, but for the universe. And I could be wrong. Like, I don't feel like the universe and him are on the same playing field. That's not ignoring that its powers don't exist. I just am like, isn't it wild that God created that and that humans can start to comprehend a little bit about the universe, and he's even higher up than that in my mind.
Totally. And I think that's a really good way of putting it. Like that clicked for me because like I think when people use the term the universe, it's going to make this, what you just said might change the way I formulate how I speak. Because the reason I say it is because it's like when you say the universe, I think like most people are probably like the solar system, the Milky Way, like all these cool things. Like that's a physical manifestation of that word. And I think the spiritualist community using universe to describe God, like almost gives ownership
to the universe.
No, how do I want to say
this?
Yes. It's almost like, oh, the universe, you're doing this, not God. And I think that's wrong. In my opinion, I don't think that's right. But I think saying the universe, like in defense of people that say that, because 5 minutes ago I would say that, I think it comes
like he is the universe in a sense.
Yeah, like,
well, I think it's part of his creation. And I don't think that negates the power that the universe has. I don't think it negates that. I just think the universe has a source, a creator as well as we do. And he's even bigger than that. And it just makes my mind, I'm just in wonder of.
It's so hard to comprehend.
I think it's like, I'm in wonder and awe of his creation, like, and how much bigger he is than even that. And that's not denying that the universe doesn't exist or doesn't have powers. It's just, it has a source of life too, in my mind. And that's God. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And I think it's fun for me to hear you say what you just said too, because like I'm bringing it back to, for example, when I did McKenzie's chart, there's such strong influence from the way I'm interpreting her placements that just reinforces my faith even stronger. So I'm like, oh, this is my girl. Like she's got all these placements and they're all pulling together. So it's like the clues will be reinforced constantly. The more you learn, the more you, and I'm not like, whoever wants to go follow this path, it's like, I'm self-taught. I didn't get trained in this at all, but I've just been obsessed with it for years. But the more you understand the energies of each of the planets, the houses, the aspects, all of the signs themselves. There's like a beautiful, it's like poetry.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so
Yeah.
cool. There's so many themes that kind of all come together, and every single person's chart is unique. Even twins can have unique
Yeah.
charts. As long as, you know, like they're born like 15
Slightly
minutes
different.
born,
Yeah.
like bam bam, they're probably gonna have symptoms. But the way it shows up for them will be different. The way that they use the energy will be different.
Yeah. Because they're their own being.
It's just exactly. And so I think, you know, God's controlling the universe. If the universe and God have influence on the energies of how we are kind of imprinted in our souls coming here, having this like human life, then I think that there's clues. There's
Yeah.
clues in your chart. There's clues in, you know, in the way you look, in the way you carry yourself, in your natural gifts, in, you know, being able to just have a gut feeling about something, or being able to, like, you know, be an excellent communicator, or somebody that, you know, might be a terrible communicator, but they're an artist. Like, these things don't just like
Do you think they're
just
almost
random.
like genes? You know how genes can code for a certain hair color, or genes can code for certain personality traits? Or
Yeah.
do you think astrology is kind of like that in a sense, like marks on our?
Yes, I totally, that's such a good way of putting it. And there's actually it's like an adjacent study, not study, like a form of study called the gene keys. That's a whole nother thing. That is unbelievably.
We'll have to have you
Oh my
back.
gosh.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not a pro in that. I've got a girl that knows a lot about it.
Okay.
I wonder, yeah,
Great.
you'd love to talk to her. But but the gene keys are similar to human design, which is similar to astrology, but so wildly different. And it's just, again, us humans trying to make sense of something we don't understand.
Yeah.
So however we do it, whether it's through a religious practice or like a spiritual practice of some kind, or, you know, using tools, like, it's all us trying to do the same thing. And it's, I don't know, there's something really cool about it.
I had this like click in my head when you were talking, when you were saying that you were self-taught for astrology. And I kind of do want to unpack, you know, what led you to that moment and all of that. But I was like, you know, you are self-taught, but I feel like listening to you that you were God taught that area. Like it was meant for you. And it's the same thing as McKenzie and I, where we're like, look, we are not theology experts, but we still have that connection with God and scripture, and it's living and it's real. And I think sometimes God cherishes that way of learning, is where you're like, okay, I'm not going to, and this isn't a bad way to go to seminary or to go, and I'm going to butcher this, I'm going to say astrology school, and I know that's probably not a real thing, but you know what I'm saying. But sometimes it's like even more special to let our creator teach us what he wants us to learn, not from the mouths of someone else. And that's not saying God doesn't use other people to speak his words. But I just thought it was so cool that you say that you're self-taught. And I don't know if this is the next step in our conversation, but I do want to unpack how you got there. If that's where
that's a
we're
fun story.
at.
I think it's just
Yeah.
exactly where it's
okay.
going.
Yeah. So, okay, let me think. So, okay, I'll go down this path. Okay. In 2018, if you know anything about astrology, it's your Saturn return. Saturn is the planet that signifies like discipline, structure, and a little bit of chaos. And so when Saturn up there in the sky, like today, meets up with where it was when you were born, there's some tension. That's what the Saturn return is. And it happens between 27 and 31-ish. It's gonna be different for everyone. So anyway, I was going through my Saturn return, and I was, God, I won't go into all the details, but I was diagnosed with a brain aneurysm. Yeah, it was crazy. And coincidentally, my mom had one too a few months prior. That's how I found mine. And like I said, we were really connected in like a lot of different ways. But one of the funny things was I was like, Mom, do you think the reason why we see auras is because we have brain aneurysms? Like we're just like broken. And so we both had our aneurysms stented, and hers went beautifully. She can still see auras. Mine did not go beautifully. I can still see auras. I had some complications. It all ended up working out fine. My brain's good. My body's good. But there was a period of time that it was really chaotic. And there's so much nuance to that story that I won't get into right now. But I ended up kind of becoming obsessed with my health. And I got on a real health kick. I, like cleaned up my diet, whatever. Around that time, I was too busy to tap into anything kind of spiritual. Oh, actually, let me rewind for a second. I had the brain surgery. I had a complication. I had a blood clot in my leg, and my foot was turning white. It was really scary. I had to go for I went to the ER. They did all these tests. They determined that I wasn't getting blood flow to my leg. And so at the time, I was actually working for an orthopedic practice. And I'm in the ER. My mom and dad are with me. We're talking to the doctor. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to take you into the OR. We're going to remove the clot. This was 6 or 7 p.m. On a Monday. And I had this gut feeling no, something will go wrong. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm like, I'm terrified. I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm getting a download. I'm telling you with everything in my body, I'm not having surgery tonight. Can we do it tomorrow? So the doctor was like, listen, if you're not comfortable, I'm not comfortable. So we'll push it to tomorrow, 6 a.m. You'll go in for the procedure, whatever. So 6 a.m. comes along. I'm oddly calm. I go in. I'm on the operating table. They're about to knock me out, and I look up, and it's 6:30, I think it was, or 7:30, 6:30. And I close my eyes. I'm knocked out. I wake up. I look at the clock. It's 2:30. It was supposed to be an hour-long procedure, and it took something like 8 hours because there were so many issues with my blood vessels were spasming. And so what should have been a quick procedure ended up taking 8 hours. My gut told me not to do the procedure that night. And I'm so glad it did. God, whatever it was, I believe it was God. But had we gone in to operate that night, there was I will say this till the day I die. I think there was a higher chance of even worse complications. The surgeon would have been exhausted. He would have been operating all night long. And then, I could have had my leg amputated. It could have been a whole thing. But so that was a little nod, I think. And during a really scary time, I think that was a nod from God being like, hey, I got you. Listen, speak up. So I spoke up for myself. It all worked out. It was fine. So then I went on the health kick. Just kind of lived my life for a while. I got a new job, new boyfriend, the whole thing. I was living my life, having fun. And then March 2020 happened, and a lot of things were just falling apart. I was terrified that I was going to, get sick. And with all the stuff I had been through, I was worried I'd have really bad reaction. And I was going through a breakup at the time, and in the midst of just a lot, everybody went through it. It was a collective experience where we were all going through a lot of stress. And so I got turned on to Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is, he's a neuroscientist. He's a chiropractor by, that's where the doctor comes from. He's in DC. But he is an incredible quantum physicist, kind of connecting with source through meditation, sort of. I'm butchering phenomenal he is, but that's kind of how I was introduced to him. So I was like, meditation, I don't meditate. I've done yoga for years, but I don't meditate. Let me just give this a try. So I put on a meditation, I put headphones in, and I remember laying in the bed and of the house that I was living with my ex. I was in the bedroom, okay, I need to feel something. Okay, I need guidance. I need something. And instead of turning to prayer, I went internal. That was kind of what I just chose to do. So I lay on the bed, I have the headphones in, and I dropped in. I experienced another dimension. I was it it felt like, this is going to sound kind of cheesy, but it felt like a welcoming back in a way.
that.
It was like, oh, good, she's here.
Yeah.
Like kind of that kind of thing. And it reminded me of, have you guys ever been to Kingdom Bound?
No.
Okay. It's like a Northeast thing. But there was like a Christian convention center, kind of like get a bunch of Christians in a convention center and worship together. And there's like breakout rooms and like songs and dancing. And it was like, it was very fun. And as a kid, I remember that was one of, that's my first memory of having a spiritual experience, was being in that energy of all those people. And I remember just like full body chills, you know, like that feeling.
Yeah.
That's, if you've had the feeling, you know the feeling.
The Holy Spirit feeling that I
Yes.
get. Yeah.
Yeah, that is, it was, so that was my first experience. And I'm sure I've had that experience other times, but the experience in meditation was that, but it came with like another level. There was another level in that initial experience of meditation. So it freaked me out, but in the best way. I wasn't scared. I was like in awe. You know what I mean? Like it was like, whoa, what's going on? And so then I went deeper and I got more into meditation. I ended up getting more into astrology too, because I learned that there's so much more than your sun sign. So your sun sign is like if you're born, you know, in February, you're going to be an Aquarius or a Pisces. And like that's usually what people learn. And that's in its most simplistic form. And there's a reason and like a historical story on why that's what we think of when we think of astrology nowadays. But around that time too, I was introduced to your rising sign and your moon sign. And those two signs, I was like, wait, I feel this. I've always felt like a Pisces, kind of. I almost got a tattoo in college of like Pisces symbol. But I'm glad I didn't, because it's so much more than just your sun sign. So around that time, I was experiencing the meditation stuff. I was like tapping in and using, you know, that method of just like relaxing and going in with guided meditations as a way of connecting. And it was that in combination with learning more about astrology that I was like, wait a second, this is godly to me. This is it. There's something here. This is a clue. This is a connection point. This is the way it works for me. And so then I moved to Austin, and everybody, so at the time I was living in Buffalo, I moved to Austin, and everybody here is like, there's a vibe down here. People are a little crunchy. They want to like, they're very like peace, love, happiness, but like working hard, at like kind of hippie energy, which I love. And I found a lot of people that I connected with on this. And it wasn't from a place of like, let's start a coven. It was like, I mean, I say that as a joke now, but it was like, oh, wow, you're curious about this too. Oh, wow, you were raised a certain way, and then you ask questions, and then you're following this. And like at the end of the day, we're all just trying to do the same thing. And it's not about like, I want to be really clear in that it's not like I outgrew Christianity. It's not like, oh, I'm like up leveling. That's not it. It's me taking the information and translating it the way it works for me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what's interesting, and like you guys can pop in, I've been talking a lot. But what's interesting
I was like in awe.
lately is I've been learning this woman, her name's Cynthia Bourgeau, Bourgeau, and she is an Episcopalian priest / mysticist, like mystic. And she has all these books about Jesus as a mystic. Like, what was he doing when, you know, he went into the desert for all that time? Yeah. And like him coming back and like kind of maybe potentially, I don't know, but being misinterpreted by people that didn't totally grasp like the next like level consciousness of what he was saying, because they were learning too. And so they were writing things down and interpreting it from their lens, but perhaps there was another level. And if you read some of the scripture, like to even prep for this podcast, I was like, let me like go down a little rabbit hole and like look into scripture and like, you know, and there are a lot of points that will call out like, that could be interpreted a couple different ways, you know, and it's all perception. It's all our personal perception. And the people that, you know, wrote the books of the Bible, that was their perception. And, you know, obviously it was divinely influenced, all of those things. But, you know, if someone's saying, I'm trying to think of an analogy. if someone's saying like, oh, it's not going to come to me right now. I don't want to give the wrong analogy.
No, I get what you're
Yeah.
saying. It's all different. And I think some parts of the Bible are meant to be taken literally and other parts
Yeah.
are meant to be taken metaphorically or poetically or all of these different ways. I just learned the word, I'm going to butcher how to say it, but hermeneutics. Have you heard of that, Rebecca?
I think it's hermeneutics.
It's basically just the
Yeah.
hermeneutics. There we go. Hermeneutics. Yeah, and it's just like how it's the branch of knowledge that deals with interpretation, especially of the Bible and literary text.
Cool.
And I think that's like you're hitting the nail on the head of how we interpret what was written in both the Old Testament and the New Testament, and how, yes, it was absolutely divinely inspired, but God did not write it himself. It was written by man.
Yeah. And I mean, if you go down the rabbit hole too of, and this might rub people the wrong way, but I'm just gonna say
Go
it.
for it.
Get this out if you want. In I think it was the 4th or 5th century, men got together around a table and decided which books were going to be in the New Testament, and a lot of books weren't included. A lot of women were not included specifically, which I think is a huge miss, because the two most important people to Jesus, right? There might be more. Mary and Mary. Like Mary Magdalene had a huge role in his life, according to scripture, but a lot of things that Cynthia Bourgo talks about this too. She has a book all about Mary Magdalene. I haven't listened to it yet. I'm listening to these books lately to sit down and read.
Yeah.
I'm just like, but yeah, so I think taking women out of the conversation was a big mistake. But also I think that, they had to tell a beautiful story, right? And so if there's a book out there that doesn't totally fit the narrative, whether it was written by somebody that might not be credible, it was written by somebody who didn't really interpret things the same way, whatever the reason, a group of people decided, what was going to be in there. And they've lost scriptures coming through now. Like, you hear about them come up so often, you're like, how much weight should I give that? I'm sure that's an interesting conversation for Christians.
The Book of Enoch is the biggest one that comes to mind. And it's especially with spiritual warfare comes to mind for me. So Evan and I have read that, and that's a whole nother episode I think we could have. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation. I would love to hear from somebody that knows a lot about it.
Just like the missing books of the Bible.
Yeah, and like the process of like how it came to be, and like, how, just, I don't know, like
the most complete Bible is the Ethiopian Bible, from my knowledge. And the reason the Ethiopian Bible is the most complete is because it was the only place that the libraries were not burned or ever taken over in history. Ethiopia has been like kind of a safe haven for a lot of religious texts. And from my understanding, I might be wrong on this, but that's why it is the most complete. So every single portion of the Bible, every single book, every single chapter was kept complete within the Ethiopian Bible, which is why my mom has like 12 of them. And, it's so interesting that, because if you think about this historically, anytime a new country takes over or a new state takes over, they typically will go, at the time, the only way that you could transfer knowledge was through written text and stories, of course, but written text. And so they would go in, they would, burn the books or burn the libraries or decide what was relevant and what wasn't. And so the thought there is that maybe some of these lost texts or missing books were from overthrows within history.
Well, there's even like the Deuterocanon books are not in the texts that, like Baptist or other denominations, like that's completely not in the Bible that we grew up reading. And there's another one called, oh my gosh, I think it's like Apocrypha or something.
The Apocrypha.
Yeah, that we're not in.
I think it's the Apocrypha.
I think it's the Protestant community that they're not even included in like the NIV version at all. And these were still considered part of the Bible that a group of, like you said, a group of people,
You know, we need to have my mom back
yeah,
on.
but they decided not to include that
She would know all this.
because I think it was a little more intense.
Yeah.
And they're thinking, okay, we're trying to build churches, and I could be misspeaking on this, but they're thinking, let's leave that part out for new Christians because it might be too much. It might be too intense, but you've just taken a chunk of the living word and left it out. So
Yeah.
I do agree with what you're saying, and I do agree with Jesus's teachings where I think he's always going to be next level. He was fully human and fully divine. So he's part of that transcendental being that we're never going to fully grasp. And he never spoke directly. For the most part, there were some things, but he was typically speaking in parables. So I've thought about this before. I'm like, I wonder if he ever wanted us to fully understand exactly what he was saying, because I feel like the point of the kingdom and being a Christian is your relationship with him is intentional and personal, and it is going to be how it fits best for you. That doesn't mean create an entire narrative out of his teachings that make you most comfortable, because for the most part it is uncomfortable. Like, there's a lot of things I don't agree with that I've read. But all that to say, it is, I don't even know where I was going with that, but the fact that we should sit down, humble ourselves, and ask Jesus to show us what he meant, not what the Christian culture is preaching and teaching and saying is right. And McKenzie and I have even had this conversation where I'm like, I don't want to make a bold statement on Jesus's behalf, because I could get to heaven and we're taking account for my life, the things I've said, and him say, hey, actually, that was not what I meant by that. And I feel like a lot of people can't sit with the possibility that that is probably going to happen when it comes to interpreting scripture. He did it constantly with the Pharisees. Hey, that's not actually what I meant by that. Here's what it did mean. So I think it is important to deny ourselves and truly realize, like, there's a potential that we've got this wrong, or that there's a bigger meaning or a next level meaning or a different meaning that he intended.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to like the conversation about like children, right? It's like you have to explain it in a way that they're gonna understand with their like little minds and awareness. And like that's Jesus. He's trying to communicate, like, okay, guys, you know.
Yes.
And let me give you analogies, metaphors, like like so that you understand it, but it's like what it actually is
so much bigger. And I think he does that to be relational too. And for people to humble themselves, like, wow, I can actually see myself as this person in this parable. So I find that interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, no, that's such a good, I feel like this conversation has already sparked so many just new thoughts that I want to dive into and think about and pray on. And because at the end of the day, it is so much about our relationship with God and not our religion or what we're following. I mean, yes, religion is absolutely a tool that we can use to become closer in our faith, just like maybe astrology could potentially be a tool that you use to grow stronger in your faith.
This.
And
yeah, that's why I like that. And I don't know, maybe it's me just like, what I want to say is there's something to what you just said where it's like, it's not spirituality versus religious.
Not a war.
And I think for a long time, I thought that. I was like, well, I'm more spiritual, I'm not religious. Like, and I think that came from just my experience of stepping away from like a structured religion, you know, and just trying to find like my own path. But I think the way you framed religion, I'm going to think on that, because it's like, it's a tool. It's like, it's the tool the same way I explained what I'm kind of doing. But at the end of the day, all of our goals, it's connection. It's like connection for you, as you come into this earth alone and you die alone, right? I mean, you can have family. That's not what I'm saying, but like as a soul, you're here, and your connection that's always going to be with you is God, you
I
know?
love that.
Yes.
I love
Yeah.
that.
So it's like you go along this path of like birth to death. You're going to have instances that are going to bring you up and down and up and down. But one thing that can remain true is your connection. And you can use whatever in your tool belt. Like same with business, with partnership. You've all
Yes.
tools that you have. Like, oh, he's having a hard time. I'm going to make him dinner. That's a tool. Like, you know,
Yeah.
but you can do that for yourself. And it's kind of your responsibility to do it. And I feel like people that don't care to explore what that connection is for them, it hit them at some point in life. It could be at the
Yeah. Well, I
very
think it's fear that a lot of people, they get caught up, and what they don't even realize is that it's the devil's doing exactly what he wants to do. He's stopping you. He's distracting you from a true or maybe even deeper connection with God.
yeah.
That's my
And I
take
think
on it.
too, even I know I admitted I was anxious at the beginning of this conversation, but I felt nothing but peace and enlightenment. Where I'm like thinking, why am I scared? I feel like again that limits God. Like I know I have the ultimate protector. So if this conversation or this topic is not of God, don't I trust that he would protect me? Don't I trust? And I feel like if we can go into every single thing that maybe we don't have knowledge on or don't agree with, we can say it that way for some of the people listening that don't agree with astrology is we're not shoving this down your throat. We're not saying that this has to be your path. If you're curious, don't you trust that Jesus will protect you to learn something different? Does that make sense?
Well, and not all curiosity comes from the devil.
Right.
I think that is something that people get really nervous about. Jesus, he wants us to be curious. God gave us free will for a reason. He wants us to explore everything so that when we come back to him and when we have that relationship with him, it is 100% our own, not from our parents, not from our kids or from our our culture, our community. Now, needless to say, I do think that sometimes you can go down a really dark path that way. And it's kind of that thing of like, okay, well, I think of it almost like a diet too. It's like, okay, I'm going to restrict myself and I'm not going to have anything ever. Anything that is tempting to me, I'm not going to have it. And yeah, absolutely. It is easier to stay skinny that way. But a lot of times you're going to binge, right? You're going to go off the deep end. And I think that's why as Christians, we have such a hard time because we restrict ourselves so much. And for me personally, the Lord, I had this revelation of like, he's like, I don't want to restrict you. That is not, I gave you this world. I gave you this life. I gave you this family to glorify me and my kingdom and my purpose. And I don't want you to live a life of restriction. Now, that doesn't mean go wild and go crazy, but I could if I don't want to, because I have this such an incredible connection with God and Jesus that if anything comes in between that, or if I feel out of alignment or I feel weird about it, I don't go into it. I don't have any interest in it.
Yeah. And I love what you said before. I was thinking on this too a couple days ago. Like, okay, this might get a little woo-woo.
That's okay.
So if you try for a moment and put yourself in the point of view of God, right? You are everything. You're God for a second. To have experiences, you would want to do so through individual, like it makes sense that he wanted to do so through individual souls on the planet. You know, like everybody has their own thing. There's what, like 8-9 billion of us, whatever. Everybody is a reflection of God. Like everybody was created by God, part of God, all one, right? Like, so just like stick with me here. If that's the case, I'm going to give an analogy. If God is water, in order to experience water, you have to know what it feels like to be dry, right? If you're water, like you don't, or if you're a fish, all you know is water. And the only time you experience anything other than that experience of being a fish in water is if you are not in water. So like the opposite. So like so if you're God, if you're source, and you're having all, all the souls on earth having this experience, you would want there to be nuance. You would want there to be someone believes this, someone believes that. Let's make it interesting. Otherwise, God would be experiencing himself in heaven on earth.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's
Yeah.
the way it works. In heaven, sure, maybe everybody is that way. It is all one God. You go home to God, you're your soul, you're with all the other souls. Everybody understands the connectedness. Everybody's, like worshiping in the same level. But that's heaven. That's not earth. Earth, I think, is a playground for us to get back to God.
Home.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think it's like, what are you going to do? What experiences with using your free will are you going to experience so that you can have context? Like you're the fish, all you know is water until you're not on water. So all of us having our own separate experiences, and then at the end of the day going back to source is so much more interesting from the point of view of God than everybody just living in heaven in harmony all the time. Like I think that that's part of what we're meant to do. And what you said about basically the point of like, if you love something, let it go. If it comes back, it's yours forever, like that kind of thing. So it's like, we come here, we get all these experiences, we're born into a certain family, we like, stuff happens, whatever. But if you come back to God, it's like that's what he wants. That's what he wants. And whatever tool you use to get there. And I know people listening to this are probably of the Christian faith, and through Jesus, that's how you make the strongest connection, and it makes total sense. It makes sense to me. I believe that, but a lot of people don't. And there's a lot of people that think it's through Buddha, or think it's through Muhammad or whoever. And at the end of the day, though, is it all the one God? And if you believe that one God did everything, that you believe that one God influenced those other faiths and gave us dichotomy and nuance and collaboration, so we can all go back and kind of be together again later. That's my...
It's so... What? Go ahead. Did you want to say it?
A lot of Christians believe in the scripture of you are uniquely and wonderfully made, but let's not forget about the uniquely part. So it's all going to look different. I don't believe the point of the kingdom is conformity. I think it's unity, but I don't think we were ever supposed to all think the same, act the same, look the same, behave the same way. That's not the point of the kingdom. It's that we're all different and we're all loved and we are all called to love, and we all come back to our source, our creator, our home. And that's as, I mean, it really is as simple and profound as that. So,
and like, it's so cool. And Christianity, from what you just explained, like that is why Christianity is so cool and why I align with it so much, and why in prayer I sit there and I feel such a connection to Jesus, is because what you said, I think, is exactly what God wants from us. He wants us to have this playground to explore our purpose and explore our path. And the enemy is this darkness. Satan is always trying to get us for every little thing, and he doesn't want us to fulfill our purpose here. He doesn't want us to have that. And so God was like, this is crazy. I need to come down on earth and just level the playing field for everybody in Jesus. And that's what he did, so that we can live out our purpose freely and we can fulfill that to eventually get back home. And yeah, that just sums up exactly why I align so closely with Christianity.
And the purpose is Jesus. It's the kingdom.
Yeah.
I mean, it truly, that's going to look different for every single person.
For everybody. Yeah.
That walk is going to.
Exactly. And
no, I was just saying that walk is going to look different. The path's going to look different. The tools are going to look different. It's not. It's not all. I don't think it ever was intended to be all the same.
No.
And why
I
are
don't
we
think
all
so.
fighting each other? I don't want to get political at all.
I'm with
but
you.
Like, come on, everybody. Like, what? Why can't we all just get along?
And love, because people forget people forget Jesus's teaching, where he says, "Love God and love others first." first. That
Yeah.
that usually comes to people
Mhm.
after they've gotten what they want to
Mhm.
accomplish out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so complex. And I mean, kind of like we said in the beginning, it's like we're doing our best to try to figure it out
Yeah.
and be good and feel good and raise children that are good and, breaking any cycles of, misinformation or just like, I don't know. For me, I feel like when I think about, I'm going to bring it to kids real quick. I'm pivoting.
Yeah. Go for it.
But when I think about like raising kids, that's a topic that actually comes up with me and my fiance now. We're like, what do we want to do? Like, do we want to, like, I'm not going to take them to astrology school. Like,
It's astrology school.
no, I'm not doing that. No, but I do think that there's so many, important things that come with being in community that, that is of faith. And for me, I'm going to have to explore what that looks like because at the end of the day, I think my opinion is exposing children at the right time in their life to the multidimensionality of the like different ways of thinking. That's going to be really important to me, I think, as a mother, where I heard a lot growing up, this is just the way it is. Like I remember confession specifically being very triggering for me. And I didn't do anything bad. I was like a little kid and I
I
was
know.
scared to go tell God, a man representing God, a godly man, that I punched my brother in the face. Like I was so scared of that. And it's like,
Oh.
and then I would ask a lot of questions like, why are we doing that in the first place? And I know that there's reasons, but the answer was kind of always, this is the way it is. Like, there was nuance to the conversations, of course, but at the end of the day, it was like, this is the way it is. And, you just kind of accept it as a little kid. And something that I want to make sure that I do with my kids, and I'll have to do it carefully. And I don't have anybody in my life right now that I think does it this way. And that's why I think being part of a religion and a community of faith is helpful because you have so many people that are like, oh, this is the path, follow this way, right? It's like, great, you've done it. I have so many examples, like, let's do it together. The way I'm approaching it is a little different and it might be chaotic. But I think that there's gonna be an element of like not always having the answer and that being okay, rather than being told. In my experience, it was like, we don't have the answer, but this is the way we do it. Whereas I might say something like, we don't totally have the answer, but how do you feel about it? Okay, let's talk about it.
Or
Instead of
let's explore it.
explore. Or, oh, you think that that's that way? Okay, well, like I know of another, like another tool that let's try it. Like let's not, so that the kid grows up believing in like 15 different faiths, but so that there's exposure, I think would be interesting. I don't know. Do you guys know anybody that does it like that?
That does it. I mean, I actually think that I don't know if there's like one set religion that does it, but just this generation, at least, of parents is doing it differently. That's the only way we're all doing it so differently. Or at least we're trying to kind of come back from that. Oh, well, same with parenting. Like, it's just the way it is. It's because I'm your parent. It's
Yeah.
because I said so. It's the same thing. It's like trying to come back from that. But then also with religion, it's like, okay, let's explain. We don't have to have all the answers. Let's explore this. I think we're all doing it. Is there anybody that comes to mind in the like religious parenting or faith first parenting space, Rebecca?
I don't know, but the one thing I was thinking about the whole time you were talking about that is, I think the bigger point is that the child has the freedom and the space to be curious, to have a voice, to ask questions in a safe space where the parent is not afraid of those questions. They're not afraid of the doubt. They're not afraid of the curiosity. And they're not afraid to some degree of the potential that their child may think differently than they do. And I think if you just allow the space, and honor the fact that your child's voice and opinions are important to you, the rest will work itself out. And maybe that's naive of me to say because I haven't fully sat in that situation with my children. I think if you open the space and let God work and be trusting in that, then I don't know. Maybe that's all you need. But it's a really great question. One that I'm probably going to have to reflect on because I don't know how I would handle that except for allowing the space to be there. I think that's my answer for now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a
Yeah.
great question.
Well, and I think, yeah. And with globalization, with the internet, with kids going to school with kids that might not look like them and come from the same background as them, it's like, I feel like this generation is and will like experience a lot more questions maybe than like our parents and our parents have experienced, where like, you know, their structure was different. You didn't have as much exposure to diversity. Just because honestly, the internet, you can look up anything. You can
Yeah.
ask ChatGPT. You know what I did the other day, you guys? I asked ChatGPT. I was like, ask me 10 questions and then put me into a category of religion. Like what is my religion? And it
Oh, interesting.
made up some fancy, it was like spiritualist Christianity. I'm like, okay, that's not, where's that church? Like what?
Yeah, you're like, what is that? Well, I think the beauty, too, and this is something I've realized, is you don't actually have to be in a church in a physical building. You
Yeah.
can create a community of people wherever, more than one person is gathered. The church is there, God is there, Jesus is there. And so if you find people in your community that are open to having these conversations and exploring Jesus, exploring God, exploring spirituality, and you create your own community, I mean, that is a church too. Like you don't have to be confined to a Baptist church on the corner of Main Street. You don't have to be confined to Catholicism. And if you align with that and that feels so good for your spirit, that's awesome. That's amazing. But if you don't, that's okay too. It doesn't mean anything to. And too, if you don't align with Christianity, I mean, that's not my place to say you're wrong. God is working in your life. So yeah, I think it's so interesting. It's just what aligns for me, what aligns for Rebecca. But if it's, yeah, I think just having your experience, our human experience is just so interesting and so wildly different.
Yeah.
And maybe that's too woo-woo of me to say.
I don't think
but
that's woo-woo.
I'm sure my grandma is going to be like, well, I don't agree with me. I don't agree with that. But
That's okay. That's the whole point of the podcast is, hey, we're not forcing conformity here. We're just now that I'm thinking about it, we're just allowing that space for people to have questions and different voices.
There you go. Yeah.
yeah, do you know anybody doing it? I actually do. You're looking at them.
Now that I think about
Well,
it.
it's funny because like even after talking, like I've noticed so many parallels between like when we do talk about like motherhood and communicating with a child. Like we've drawn some interesting parallels between like communicating with
Absolutely.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys see that a lot, but I'm just kind of like, wow, like we're like the little kids, like just trying to learn.
We are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that's why we were like, oh, we're God's children. I used to be like, oh, that's so cheesy. But we are.
Yeah.
We literally
we're just
are.
kids. I'm just a girl.
I'm just a girl. I'm just a baby.
But I do think that there's something to be said for like co-creating with God, where it's like, okay, this is the reality of the situation of my experience right now. This is where I want to be. This is like, we're going through something hard, whether it's in your life or on a collective scale. And how do I make sense of this? And it's like, a lot of it will require action. It's not always about just sitting back. So I think being grounded, staying connected, taking action when you need to, and then not taking action when you don't need to, like having that kind of awareness is a good thing. And I think our next, so astrologically, we just left, okay, I'm not going to go into all the nuances of it, but basically there was a multi-decade energy of Capricorn, which was all about systems, structure, kind of like money, greed, power. There's a lot of good things and like light and dark in everything, shadow, light, all of it. But the shadows of Capricorn are kind of being amplified right now. A lot of our systems crumbling. They've been crumbling. They will continue to crumble. And the whole point is like this moment needed to happen so that we can rebuild. And we're now in the age of Aquarius. So we're in this like limbo phase where things are crumbling and we're seeing like some hope of like collective unity and peace and alignment, but we're not there yet. So over the next 20 years, according to astrology, Pluto will be in Aquarius, which will be an era of power to the people, humanitarianism, technology, connection, saying the thing, not being like, not being afraid of getting fired because you said the thing. Because Aquarius is all about the collective and it for like a positive reasons. There's shadows of Aquarius too. And then after that comes the age of Pisces, which is, I can't wait. It's like, it's peaceful, it's dreamy, it's feminine. I think that there's going to be over the next 20, 30 years, a really, really beautiful arc. Like, I think when we're old ladies, we're going to look back at this time and be like, that was crazy. It's so much better now. And so there's like, that gives me like, being able to read the astrological charts and all the transits can freak me out sometimes because I'm like, oh, that doesn't look good. And I know it's coming, but I don't know exactly, but it's just, it's the energy. It's like, okay, planet represents tension. This sign represents technology. Okay, there's going to be tension in technology. Where does it live in my chart? Okay, it's in my house of, let's say, career. Great. I'm going to have a really crazy technological situation come up with my career. And it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. It's like, we don't know. And how you transmute the energy is sort of like,
well, I think
game.
You hit the nail on the head with we don't know. So you're not using astrology for divination and to predict the future and change the future and do all of this crazy stuff. It's like you said in the beginning, it's a clue.
Yeah, and it's
helping us.
And it's too. I mean, even if I didn't know about Pluto, I could still probably tell you, okay, things are crazy right now. We're leaning into more technology. And it's got to go somewhere eventually, like the way that the world is going, like it's not great right now. It's been worse in the past, like I think it's really easy for us in modern times to be like, this is so crazy. But if you look at the way things were, in certain areas of the world in the past, you can reflect and be like, okay, it's actually our day to day. We're a lot of us are much safer, healthier, than years and years ago or whatever. But yeah, so I'm not saying like using the transits to be like, oh, next year you're going to fall in love with your neighbor.
Yeah. Just bringing awareness to what's happening around us and giving some sort of explanation.
And it's funny too, because a lot of times I'll look at the energies and I'll think, oh, I wonder if like this is going to happen. And then in my head, I'll be like, oh yeah, I bet that's going to happen. And then it doesn't. And then like 3 months later, I'll reflect on what actually did happen. And I'll be like, I just misinterpreted the clues. Like, okay, well, I wouldn't have known that. But it is interesting though, to see how things happen. And I think a lot of it on a world stage is really interesting. Like paying attention to the news, seeing astrology, like that's my whole TikTok. It's like people that are just paying attention to just those two areas and bringing it together. I find it so fascinating, but I think it can get not necessarily dark, but I think it can get dangerous when you try to predict stuff.
I agree.
Because you could give somebody the long and then they could go make decisions on them. Like, I'm not doing that.
And it goes back to the Bible. I mean, that's where people misinterpret or misunderstand astrology from a biblical context, is because I might be wrong. I'm not a scripture whiz, but I know that, and this might actually not be in the Bible. This might be in Enoch, when the it's this whole story about how the giants came to be. Basically, demons came into the earth, mated with humans, created the Nephilim, which I believe were the giants. And and then they brought astrology. They brought all of these other teachings. But from what I
Oh,
can,
okay. I've heard about
I'm
this from a different point of view
from a
about
different,
like
okay.
what aliens.
Yeah. Okay. See, so isn't it interesting how they're also parallel? And so this astrology that you're talking about is not the religion or the trying to use the energy that these planets produce to change things or do things or predict the future or any of that. It's more, like you said, as clues.
Yeah, I think, yeah, if you can interpret clues and you understand what the clues, like what they represent, sure, you can draw some parallels. You're not in charge of people's free will and you're not God. So for you to say this is the way it's going to be is a little tricky. But I do think, like, I think psychics, and this might be off limits, but I think psychics, like truly connected psychics that aren't, I think there's a lot of psychics out there that are doing it the wrong, like, not the wrong way, but like are just not using the light as much as they maybe should
Oh,
if they're working with
absolutely.
people. But I do think, like, I mean, I've had psychic readings before where, based on the trajectory that I was definitely on, they were able to see the energy, you know? And I mean, mediumship too is another thing. I don't know a lot about that. You might want to talk, I mean, I don't know if that's crossing a line, but
No,
mediums.
we've actually talked about this of like, should we bring people on that are, I've been really hesitant because I'm nervous.
Like a Tyler
I
Henry.
don't, yeah, like I'm nervous to even dive into that because scripture does clearly say, you know, the Lord doesn't want us to talk to the dead. He doesn't want us to talk to the unliving because of that energy that is so, like you were saying, they don't always pull from light. I would say
You'd have to be
my gut is like, I don't think the Lord, for me, the Lord talks to me through prayer, meditation, and his scripture. I don't feel the need to get it from anybody else. That doesn't mean he can't speak through someone else, you know, and I don't want to limit his power, but it does. It scares the crap out of me, to be totally honest.
Oh, I get it. I'm not a pro in that, but I will say, like, people that I know that have had experiences where they've seen people that have passed, like, and maybe they don't like make a living out of it, but people that have just like experienced that, like it freaks them out, but I think a lot of people find it really comforting. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like, if something like that happens, then how do you reconcile that with, you know, a scripture saying that we're not supposed to do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how, like if you were to experience that, like how would you not be afraid naturally if what you know is that it's not, it's like frowned upon, but you're experiencing it in your life. So you're like, well, what? I'm not doing anything wrong. Like what?
Yeah, especially if it came to you. Like that happens a lot, I think, with you know, people who do dabble in the psychic or medium space. You know, they'll seek out people who have a clear message, and you know, it scares me, but I don't ever want to limit who God is and what he can do. And so who knows if maybe it is him. Maybe I think the only way that you're going to know is if you sit in prayer and you have that discernment. Like God will let you know. He will not confuse you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that reminds me of something. Okay, I'll share this. It's aligned, sort of. So yesterday I did a reading or 2 days ago I did a reading for my aunt, and I just did like a general, like, here's your chart, and I pointed out a couple things, and she has a daughter, and I was like, oh, I'm so curious to like what her daughter's chart's like. And I just kind of said it in passing. I'm like, oh, like there's some stuff, like I'm wondering what that would be like. And so she responded to me and she's like, oh, her birthday is blah, 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 blah. And my gut was like, don't look at her chart right now. And I was like, okay. I'm like, oh, come on, gut.
You're like, shut up. It's fine.
Like, it's fine. And then I was second guessing it, and I went into the website and plugged it in, and it wasn't loading. It wouldn't load. And I was like, okay, I heard you. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't.
I'm
need to
telling
look
you,
right
he
now.
will let you know. He is so clear.
And I'm like, oh gosh, I need to trust that voice. Like, and I definitely have been over the past few years. I've listened to that voice. but I didn't listen to it in that moment, and I couldn't have access. And so I messaged her back, and I was like, if my cousin wants me to do her chart, I totally will, but like, I'm not going to even look at it without her permission. So, like you said, there's discernment, and there's rules. Like, don't disrespect.
I think, yeah,
You know?
I think it's like circling back to us being his children, with what you just shared, and then talking about how he's like, don't consult with mediums and psychics and stuff like that. I do, like, God has boundaries with us. Those are boundaries, and they're probably placed there for a reason, for our purpose of it. And you can take it multiple different ways. One could be it's just not safe. Two could be, like you said, you're relying on another human being to give you information of what you would believe would be factual, and it could not be. And that sends you on a spiral, and you're taking and making decisions based off that. And then three, it could be, okay, well, now you're creating this as an idol in your life for some people, not all, and you're not coming to me, the source of life, and that's separating you from God. So I don't think when you look at it, it's like, oh, it's wrong, it's bad. Maybe we look at it as it's a boundary, and that boundary is going to resonate with each of his children differently, and how they process it and then live that out.
Absolutely.
I like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because some boundaries are not bad. Like boundaries that we place on our children, it's not that they're bad. It's that they're here for a reason to keep you safe, whether that be physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. And I that's how I view that. And I think it's going to look different with each child, us, with him.
Yeah. And the way you communicate to one kid is going to be different than you communicate to another kid. Like the clues that I pick up, like I have like these oracle cards or like tarot cards, which when I pull them, I'm interpreting it as like, okay, I need a message. And so the energy I'm putting into it is, what message do you have? Can you give me a clue that I can interpret? And it's unbelievably wild. I mean, have you guys ever done this where you have the Bible and you're like, okay, I need a message, and you
Yes.
just like flip
I was
around
about
and
to bring that up.
yeah, that it's like I mean, I would say it's the exact same thing. I've done that so many times, like with the Bible. I've done it with tarot cards, angel cards, like all that stuff, or like oracle cards, and it's like that way of communicating to me works. Other people might tap in prayer. Other people might need to be in community and hear other people speaking, and something lights them up. But like the way you would communicate to like your son who might need some tough love, to your daughter who needs like her hand held, like is different. Like we're all different.
Well, and two, I think
cool.
we believe that God can speak through people. So people like you that would maybe have someone sitting in front of them that he wants you to deliver a message to, that can happen in all different ways.
Totally. Same for you guys, even doing this podcast. Like, I'm sure before you guys like plug in, you like take a deep breath, and you like might say a little prayer, like, okay, like use me as a tool.
Yes.
Yeah, always. I'm always like, use me as a vessel to get whatever you want across.
I did pray
So it's
before
like
we started this, where I was like, cover this conversation in the blood of Jesus Christ. May your name be known. Whatever, if there's something I need to learn, please let me open my ears to hear it. If there's something others need to learn, please open Amanda's mouth to give that information. And then it's always, may I decrease so you can increase. That's the whole point. And I feel like our conversation was so much not about our feelings, and maybe it was a little bit, but I feel like the center of the conversation was God. Truly.
No, I totally. And it's like that respect and that knowing, but respect with curiosity. It's like that's kind of like what we're doing. It's like we don't want to, at the end of the day, we don't want to like make a mistake or mess up in life, right? Like we want to do the best we can for life. We're not over here trying to like cause chaos in what we do. And it's like even having conversations where you don't want to say the wrong thing. It's like at the end of the day, if your intentions are pure, whether it's you starting a podcast, it's whether I'm doing a reading for somebody, you're talking to your children or whatever it is. If you have a pure intention, it will be well received.
Yeah.
You know, it might not be understood. People might think you're nuts, but it will be well received. It comes with, you know, purity, and you might put your foot in your mouth and say something really stupid, and that's okay.
And you can always
Yeah.
backtrack. That's the beauty. That's the grace that God gives us too, is we're not always gonna say the right thing, but we can always, if we don't say that, he will gently convict us later. It's never shame. It's never judgment. It's like, oh wait, maybe you got that one a little wrong.
Yeah.
Let me fix that.
Totally.
This is what I believe now. And we can evolve, we can grow, we can change our
And
minds.
if you're not, then you're not doing it right. Like, you should look back at this. We should all look back at this conversation in 5 to 10 years and be like, that was wild.
crazy.
Like, oh, I was so confident about this, but all of these things happen later. I think that, you know, we should be evolving. Or if we fall off path and like listen to this later, it's like, oh, okay. It's like there was truth. I felt so aligned in. I need to get back. Like, we don't know what's going to happen, but like you said, you can take it back. You can change your mind in most things, not all things. But most things you can do that.
And I don't think God's afraid of our questions. And one begs to differ. If you don't have curiosity, is your relationship with him surface level? Like, if you're not digging deeper.
I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I'll say it. Yeah, I think so. I think so
too.
That's the number one word that I kept writing down as I was like kind of preparing with what we could talk about, you know, was curiosity. I think, because it's like, okay, if you go on a date with somebody, and I know none of us are dating, but if we were to go on dates with somebody, or actually, I don't know, Rebecca, are you
I'm
dating?
married, but
No,
You're married. Okay, sorry, I don't know. Okay,
I mean, they do date still. I think.
Okay, so I'll start over. So if you're going out on dates with somebody and trying to develop a relationship, you're going to ask questions to get to know them more. And it's like the relationship with God, source, however you interpret, you're going to ask questions. And if you're not met with openness by like whoever you're communicating with about, you know, the relationship, then you're probably not going to want to be in that relationship. And I could see, you know, how some people veer off, you know, a path that they were originally on because they've been met with resistance, or their curiosity was stifled, or, you know, they were misunderstood. And I mean, there's so many stories even about that, like with people in faith, very like faithful, godly people. And they go off path and they come back. Like, there's stories in the Bible about that. Like, that's like Bible.
Yes.
Right?
Oh,
it's like,
yeah. Yes.
Made a mistake, came back. Like, that's a lot of it's such a common story. Like we all do all the time. And like you said, McKenzie, like you can take a lot of it back. You can say, oops, I messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, this has been such a great conversation.
I do too. This is so
fun.
so good. Yes. Okay. Well, every single guest that we have on answers one question, and it is, what does surrender mean to you?
Sure. Okay. So when I first hear that word, the first thing that comes up for me is like, it feels very passive. The word itself feels passive, like you're letting something happen. And I know where you're going with the question. I think I could be wrong, but I think like the act of surrender, having faith, trusting that you're not supposed to know, like I totally get that. For me, I prefer to think of like my relationship with God as like pulling up a seat at the table and like getting our hands dirty and co-creating. And so it's like, I don't feel like where I'm at right now, I might change my tune completely. But for where I'm at right now, when I think of the word surrender, I think it's like, I wish I could, like, God, there's something that feels so
it's
like, like that feels nice. Like, like just relaxing. And it might be the type A, like oldest of, you know, like, but like, it might just be my personality or like where I'm at right now. But I don't want to surrender now. I want to co-create together. And I think that I'm in a position where I'm understanding how I can do that in a way that feels so good to me and that like honors all of the belief systems that I carry with me. And I think it requires action for where I'm at today, not necessarily like taking a deep breath and just allowing. I think I'm in action mode with this specifically.
It seems like you're in aligned action. You've done the
Yeah.
part. You have listened to God and trying to figure out where God wants to take you, and now you're in your aligned action mode.
Well, I
Yeah.
think too,
Yeah, and
surrender, what you're explaining is like surrender to you can look like allowing him in that space, inviting him in and calling to him for answers. And I keep every time you
Right.
talk about co-creating an aligned action, taking action, I keep thinking about the book, the story of Noah. If he didn't, if he surrendered in the sense of, oh, God's got control of this, we're good, or we're going to be fine, or let your will be done, he would have drowned in the flood. But
Yeah.
instead, he took action. He built the ark. He followed instruction. He invited him in. He surrendered to whatever was going to happen around him that was out of his control, that he might not never, ever understand. And the most insane instructions of, hey, we need 2 of each kind. Build this ark exactly this way. Bring your family in. That is taking action. So I feel like his story and your story are so aligned in the way that you view surrender.
Yeah.
Because sometimes surrender is taking action.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's an interesting word. I think it's like it's a triggering word because it makes you want to feel, I love this question, but it makes you want to feel like you should be giving up more sovereignty, like for faith. Like it takes, like there's something about the word, at least for me, the way the word surrender kind of hits me. It's like, okay, you have to give something up, and that thing is control. And this could just be a thing, but giving up control, comes with like, okay, well, but like I still want to be involved. Like I still want to be doing the thing. I don't want you to have all the control. Like I get you, like you have control, but I want to be part of it. And so like to not be part of it would be a bummer. So yeah, that's that's how I.
Yeah, I get what you mean, because as a type A you're firstborn, right?
Yeah, I'm like the oldest of all those grandkids.
Yeah. See, okay. Well,
Like,
so as that, you want to take all the control. You want to have that. That's just the way we're wired. And so then I had the exact same like the negative connotation with surrender of like, ew, I don't want to just like give up. That seems weak. But that's not what surrender is. Surrender is. It maybe for some people it is. And for my surrender story, it was, oh my gosh, my hands are up. Lord, please take the wheel. I cannot deal with this. But for other people that looks so different, it can be an invitation. It can be inviting God into your life, inviting him to play an active, not just like be in your life, but play an active role alongside you and letting him guide. So it's beautiful.
You know what's hilarious is as you're talking, I'm like, oh, I know exactly why I answered that way, and I know why you would answer that way, and it's in your human design.
Oh, really? Is it really?
I'm a manifestor. I'm meant to initiate. I'm meant to take action.
You're meant to co-create.
You're a generator. You are meant to wait for an invitation and then respond to it, or to respond.
Yeah.
You're meant to respond. So you need like something to happen to respond. For me, I'm like, but I want to start. Like I want to do the thing. Rebecca, I don't know what yours is.
I'm very type B.
Later.
It's not that.
Yeah. Okay. I wonder.
It's not that.
Maybe
I know. I wonder what you are too.
I know. Now I want to know. But again, I won't do your chart without your permission. But yeah, I think that's interesting. Just like reflecting on what I said and how you said it, I'm like, oh wow, this is like, it's part of our blueprint. I think if I'm understanding my clues correctly, our blueprints are there for a reason, and if you can
Well, and it looks
interpret
different. That's why we asked
Yeah.
this. It
Yeah.
looks different
Well,
to
yeah,
everybody.
I loved your answer, honestly. I thought it was beautiful. And
I
I
did too.
think the whole point of
cool.
asking every guest is to kind of rewrite the narrative
Mhm.
of the negative connotation surrounding it. 'Cause sometimes it's,
Yeah.
most of the time it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would like to get to the point where I would answer it differently, like, but I'm not
That's
there right
fine.
now.
Yeah.
And I think it's
Well, it's
like,
all in divine timing.
yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't know when that point would be because I feel like there's a lot of peace that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
today I'm like rolling up my sleeves, like wanting to like get in and like do the
Yeah.
things. So
Well, maybe when you watch this back in 5
Yeah,
to
you'll
10
have a
years,
different answer.
you'll be like,
Yeah.
I got it.
yes, I'll be like, oh, little Amanda, she was such a go-getter.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap up? You are doing readings, right? You are doing
Yes.
through
can touch on
Soulcasted,
that.
which is on Instagram, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I am doing readings for people and I've done over 100 readings, like just for friends and family. Like I said, I'm self-taught, so I'm not, like I'm just kind of figuring it out, but I'm getting so good at it. Like I'm getting so much information from the chart now that I wasn't even able to get last year. And so
It's so good.
very fun. But I do general readings, just like, hey, what does my chart look like? And then I'll look at astrology and human design, which is a whole nother category. And what I'm doing with Soulcasted right now, it's just like my Instagram handle. But what I'm doing with that right now is focusing in on certain areas of life because a lot of times if you go for an astrology reading, they'll give you your overall blueprint. They'll be like, okay, like you have this here, that's that kind of energy, da, da, da. And it'll tell you about you. And then you can get another kind of reading that's about the transits. So that's like more divination, looking into the future. Like, okay, this is your chart here. And then you layer on top of it the chart like 2 years from now. And you can see what's going to take place sort of. I don't really do that, but I'll do like your blueprint, what you're born with. And then there's different houses. So there's 12 different houses in astrology, and each one represents a different theme. So it's like yourself, your finances, the way you communicate, your home, your creative outlet or children, your day-to-day, your relationships, transformations that you're going to have, travel, education are in one category, your career, networks, and then sort of your subconscious and spirituality. And so what I'm doing now is I'm taking different themes of life, and the themes I'm focusing on are love, career, and branding. And I'm looking at your chart through that lens. So for McKenzie, we did a branding one. And so I looked at certain placements, like where your Mercury is, your rising sign, what's at the top of your chart. All of those are kind of coded with energies that explain where your natural gifts are. And if anything, it's a very validating experience. It's just like, oh yeah, that tracks. And so I'm focusing on those areas. And what I do for work, like you said in the beginning, is I own a social media agency, and we work with doctors and healers and health professionals on their branding and their social media, like just staying up to date on social media and posting and all of that. And so part of kind of my skill set is that branding piece. And so taking influence from your chart and being able to kind of synthesize it into what could your brand look like, your personal brand or your like business brand. You're just going to draw a lot of inspiration from your blueprint, like your map. Like, what are your natural strengths? What energies do you have? Like, do you have a lot of fire in your chart? Water, air, earth? What's your rising sign? How do people see you? If you're seen as somebody that's, kind of go with the flow versus someone who's like, I'm going to take action. Like, and how can you lean into that from like a psychological and branding standpoint to kind of, position yourself appropriately. So yeah, we're doing that. And love is just like another category that I think is so fun to look at in people's charts. And so just digging into the different elements of like, hey, in your Hinge bio, play around with these energies. Maybe if you do have a lot of fire and masculine energy, don't try to hide behind that. Like, you're not going to find your person if you're like wearing a flowy dress and being like, oh, I listen to like Taylor Swift all day, and like I just want to like find my lover and like all like. But if what you're really like in real life is you're like an action taker, you're a doer, and your chart reinforces that, then you need to like show up as that girl. Otherwise, you're meeting these guys or girls or whatever that don't align with who you are.
You need to bring like reputation energy, not lover energy. There's a Taylor Swift album for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we could. Oh my gosh, that could be a whole like which energy of Taylor Swift do you align most?
Oh my gosh, that'd be a good quiz, honestly.
Wait, let's do that. That'd be fun.
Mental note, mental note.
But yeah, point is that I'm doing readings and I find them so fun and I geek out and I probably give way more than. I mean, I've had a lot of astrology readings. I've never received a reading.
The
like,
level.
Yeah, like I go deep.
I love that.
You really do. It's so good. Yeah, and if it doesn't align with you, like that's totally fine. You don't have to get in a reading. But if you're interested in it and you pray about it, and like I did, and even before I watched all this stuff, I was like, Lord, show me what you need to show me, and He totally did. So
yeah, and
yeah,
it's like
it's fun.
It's not a scary like. It's not a scary thing. And if I do see something that's a little bit like, oh, you know, I'll explain it in a way that is true and that isn't a scary reflection too. You know what I mean? Like if there's a placement that's a little tricky, just be like, you know, you've probably experienced this. Like I'm probably reflecting something that you know. And I've seen
you're not actually giving us any new information. We already have it all in here.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just putting it in a way that we understand it, to be honest, and lean into.
Totally. And it makes you I don't know, I take action now with so much more confidence because I understand like that I was created in a way and I resonate with the tool that I can interpret. And so it helps me take steps that, you know,
I love it.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Hey, thank you for sharing your gift with us.
Oh, thank you guys.
Yes.
So
I love it.
fun. I love what you're
This
doing.
is so fun.
It's like I don't know anybody that's kind of opening up the door for these kinds of conversations and doing it in a way that isn't combative. There's so much out there where it's like, it could be seen as like bringing people apart. But I think the more conversations you guys have with people that bring different perspectives it's just like creating a world where people can, I don't know, find synchronicities in connection in a place that might not be totally expected.
Wow,
You educate a lot of people too.
that is so kind to say.
Thank you.
Truly, thank you.
That really is. Thank you. That's what we're trying to do.
I never want you to stop. So
Thank you.
Oh.
you got a fan here.
you.
Best.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I love you. I'm so glad you
I
could
was
come.
so happy to meet you.
I know.
been
I know. Me
fun.
too.
Thanks for being here with us today. If something resonated, maybe a sentence, a silence, or a story, hold on to that. If you felt seen or stirred or simply curious, we hope you'll join us again. Until then, stay open, stay tender, and remember, there's always a seat for you at the table.